All right, um let's mix it up a little bit, shall we? And let's see here. Modern challenge starts in 2 hours. Not sure if I'm gonna play in that. I'm still trying to get the right build. But okay, so I'm going to record, and this was not necessarily my intention. I've been bouncing around between a lot of different versions of this deck, and please excuse me to those who are interested in my Merfolk content. I think that's going to take a little bit of a backseat. I am very much itching to get back into it, but I really want to get a mono red version hammered down. I really want my mono red deck to be pretty secure. I don't really foresee many changes to my Merfolk deck. I could be wrong. That new glass pool mimic, or that new clone creature that's also a land, could be something worth trying. I know people seem to be having good results with it, but I don't know. The way I see it, I kind of feel like Fairy Conclave is probably usually going to be better because you can play it as a land, and then you can play it as a creature later, as opposed to having to choose. But obviously, I'm probably missing something. It's obviously lower power level. But anyway, I might just jam some of my old Merfolk lists and see where that stands before making any changes. But it's definitely the mono red deck that I'm more interested in jamming in this metagame right now, particularly because things seem to be mixed up quite a bit, and it's not that the old version is bad. I'm still getting decent results, decent amount of like 4-1s, 3-2s, and of course the occasional 2-3. They don't always go your way, but I haven't really quite found a build that's just really consistently killing it. I thought for a while, maybe just jamming more or less the old version was going to take me there because I had a pretty good string of results, but then it kind of petered out. And the main thing is just the format's all over the place, so trying to find a build that covers basically all grounds is pretty difficult. Um, but I'm excited to try another Jegantha build, and I know I've been all over the place, but let's see. I think there might be something here. Um, okay, so, and I know I'm even changing it. I'm even changing it as we speak. But okay, so this is the plan here. We are maxing out on Prowess creatures, and I know it's weird because Magmatic Channeler was one of the reasons why I started deviating from the initial build in the first place. But the more and more I started to realize, the more and more I started to play with that version, the more and more I realized Ratchet Bomb was very, very important in the Death Shadow matchup. Now, of course, Season Pyromancer was too, because those tokens it created were very critical towards towards preventing them from blocking, preventing them from attacking. But that being said, I think ultimately Ratchet Bomb is the better of the two, because Ratchet Bomb permanently deals with these shadow creatures, and it can even deal with multiple. That doesn't come up a lot because they usually don't play multiple right into it. But it can cleanly deal with a shadow creature, either shadow or the new Scourge, Scourge of the Skies, or whatever it's called, the new 2-mana shadow creature that cares about both life totals. And of course, Ratchet Bomb is also nice because while it's ticking up, even though it can't necessarily kill the creature immediately, it will generally deter the opponent from playing more. So, it might seem like a bad card, but actually Ratchet Bomb has been, ironically, one of the main draws, for me at least, in playing a non-Obosh version. I just really like having access to Ratchet Bomb in the sideboard. Um, so what else do we have going on here? So I think what I'm going to be experimenting with today is going with the full 16 prowess creatures, or full 12 prowess creatures, and 4 pseudo prowess creatures. Just the format is just so all over the place. I kind of like the idea of just being able to go for max speed. So obviously Blister Coil Weird is taking the place of Season Pyromancer, as paradoxical as that may sound. But my thinking is, well, game one, maybe I'll just go for a win as quick as possible. I don't think any other version can probably get a turn one kill, or sorry, not turn, that would be something, turn one kill, but a turn three kill probably as consistently as this version. Of course, Flame Slash can be a little clunky sometimes if they don't have a creature, because they won't be able to get prowess triggers. But believe it or not, sometimes you can even Flame Slash your own summoning sick creature and push through some more prowess points that way if they have no creatures. But, there's just so many creatures running around in the format that I still think Flame Slash is great. Also can deal with stuff that other burn spells struggle with, like a Dryad of the Elysian Grove, all the good stuff that we're used to. So I am excited to jam this list again. It seems very lean, very clean, and efficient. And unfortunately, Magnetic Channeler's got to take the sideline right now at 2 mana. It's not at the kind of max speed that I am interested in. Interestingly enough, I'm not even necessarily sure it's the best card advantage engine either, because I've been messing around with Bomat Courier again, and I'm kind of tempted that if I want more card advantage, I might play Bomat Courier instead of Channeler. So it's not that Channeler is a bad card. It's really actually just that this archetype has quite a bit of good options to play, believe it or not. So some people may look at these cards and see a bunch of janky, unplayable cards, but believe it or not, I think that's incorrect. I look at these cards and actually I see all these really great cards that it's really difficult to decide what to cut. Anyway, I like the reasoning behind going for max speed. Let's see how this goes. Another interesting new addition is Forgotten Cave. So what's going on here? Well, this was actually Spikefield Hazard for a while, which was nice. But one thing I started noticing was that although the Lava Dart ability was relevant, I noticed that I didn't really need to have 8 Lava Dart effects. And where the Spike Field was effective, Lava Dart, sometimes kind of lost some of its luster, because there's only so many 1 toughness creatures usually that the opponent will present during a game. So of course, most of the time that meant that Spike Field would come into play as a land, which of course is also fine. That's almost the same thing as Forgotten Cave. But of course, there was other times where where I didn't necessarily need a land, and I didn't necessarily need another Lava Dart effect. Of course, theoretically, Spikefield Hazard can nip an Uro on its way down and exile it permanently. That didn't really come up. I'm not too worried about the Uro decks. Typically, they're pretty good matchups with 4 Blood Moons and 4 Relics in the sideboard. Oh, and let me make sure that my my volume is off. I should be. Let me see. I know some of the sounds were in some of my previous versions. Let me see here. Yeah, I mean, all indicators are that the Magic the Gathering sounds are off. Anyway, I want to give this a run. I don't know. Maybe this will crash and burn. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I was talking about Forgotten Cave. Yeah. So basically, what messing around with Spikefield Hazard really taught me is that, interestingly enough, the deck actually can support a tap land surprisingly well. There's just so many 1-drops that it actually, you'd think that with so many 1-drops, maybe a come into play tap land would slow you down more, and you'd lose out on some of that max speed. But at least so far in my experience, the deck is so lean that it usually doesn't make that big of a difference to miss 1 land drop. It's not like it's almost never that I'm missing that critical last land drop to play that big spell. And of course, in the Obosh version, that could be Obosh, but even in that version where I've tried Forgotten Cave, that just really hasn't come up. It's not to say that this card has made the deck feel completely unbeatable or anything, but it so far has felt like I've generally really liked having access to a little more flood insurance. Also, I could go down, trim 2 Horizon lands. Sometimes that can be kind of brutal to take a lot of damage early on off your lands, especially against the burn matchup. This card actually is I found to be superior to the Horizon lands in many ways, because I don't take damage off of it early. Usually I can sneak it in tapped early on at a good point. And later in the game, it actually is even better at cycling than the Horizon lands, because it costs only 1 instead of effectively 2, because you have to tap the Horizon land and another land. And unlike the Horizon lands, you don't have to use your land drop for the turn to cycle it. So yeah, that's what's going on in the main deck. Sideboard, okay, more janky experimentation. Now, some have questioned why 4 Ratchet Bombs, but as I've previously explained, with so much shadow running around everywhere, this Ratchet Bomb is actually one of the, ironically, it's one of the main reasons why I'm even on non-Obosh version in the first place. That's just how valuable I found Ratchet Bomb to be. Of course, I still like Blood Moon. There's just so many Field of the Dead decks, Uro decks, Titan decks, all kinds of decks where, you know, Blood Moon is either your only way to win, like in the case of Titan usually. Although now we're so fast, maybe we can actually sneak wins in where we wouldn't be able to before. But you know, just 4 moons. It's always felt wrong to not have 4 moons. Even 3 usually is okay, but yeah. So that's the thing though, because normally I play 4 braids, you know, and a braid is a sweet card. Make no mistake about that. It's one of the main reasons why I think you're drawn to play in a way a Jegantha version. Of course, it's nowhere near as big of a draw as Ratchet Bomb is if the format is demanding clean answers to high toughness creatures like Ratchet Bomb. But so what are we doing then? Since we want 4 Ratchet Bombs, we want 4 Blood Moons. Of course, I don't think we're ever going to want less than 4 relics. So what I decided to do is I decided to try 2 shenanigans. I was thinking originally to just have 2 Shattering Sprees in here, and the logic is that if I'm playing a card only as a 2 of, I generally want the effect to be kind of more powerful at whatever it's doing than, you know, other options. In other words, if I'm playing a card as a 2 of, I generally am more interested in raw power than I am in flexibility. So to me, it just doesn't really make much sense to play a Braid as a 2 of. You know, maybe that's wrong thinking, but you know, but like what I really want is I want a card that if I draw one of the only 2 copies in the deck, it's going to do something pretty powerful. And you know, Shattering Spree seemed like it would fit that bill, and that was in, and that, you know, before I started tinkering a little more, that was in here. You know, but when I started to think about it, I just started to think, you know, Shenanigans actually might even be more powerful than Shattering Spree a lot of times, because although it doesn't kill a bunch of artifacts all at once, this will literally be able to deal with as many artifacts as we need it to. I just wish this was an instant, you know? I mean, it's not like they haven't already printed so many cards that are strictly better than Shatter, for example, even a Braid or Smash to Smithereens or other, you know? It's almost like a joke right now that Shatter is not you know, is just strictly worse than so many other cards. But anyway, that being said, I still think it being a sorcery will probably be fine most of the time. I just really like the way, you know, I cycle through so much of my deck as long as I don't exile it. You know, I mean, I could even pitch it with well, I guess I don't have actually Seasoned Pyromancer in this build anymore. But, you know, assuming I did play Seasoned Pyromancer again, I'd have Jegantha, you know, I could like ditch it and then bring it back later. Also, if I happen to go back to Bomat for this build, maybe in place of Blister Coil Weird for more card advantage, you know, obviously I could also ditch it to that ability if, you know, and not worry about losing the effect. It comes back later. Yeah, I mean, I just kind of like the idea that, you know, all you really need is 1 Shenanigans, and then you basically can have the option to deal with artifacts for the rest of the game. You know, assuming your opponent doesn't force a negation or remove your graveyard or anything like that. But, you know, well, this might be crazy, but, you know, let's give this a shot.